All right, let's get more value add. Bring in Michelle Caruso Cabrera, CEO at MCC Global Enterprises. She joins us now live. She's covered the region extensively. I'm talking about Latin America in her career for this network and also beyond. And she joins us now live. Michelle, great to see you and appreciate your time. I think the value that you could probably add is the Cuba angle to all this. A lot of folks have been looking at Venezuela for a long time and have noticed how sort of Cubanized it has become. That is true.
Oh, for sure. Good to be with you, Martin and Sherry. A pleasure. Thanks for having me. Cuba very much has helped support Venezuela with its intelligence services. They surrounded Maduro, but it was a two-way street. Venezuela has provided crude to Cuba for decades now. It used to be 100,000 barrels per day, then 80,000 barrels per day. It's fallen recently to 30,000 barrels per day, and now it's close to zero. The reason this is really crucial for Cuba is they have a grid that still runs on oil. They need that crude. They've been running for months now with days where they can't keep the lights on all day. So this pressure on Venezuela, this, never mind just taking out Maduro, but the quarantine on oil is definitely going to hurt Cuba at this point. And Secretary Rubio and Trump have been very clear that that doesn't bother them. Certainly that they would like to see the removal of socialism from the Western Hemisphere. That's part of why they're doing this. If I could just add to your great conversations that you've had with Bob and about oil, I've looked at investor presentations that started to float around after the Armada buildup. People started thinking about, okay, what happens if there's a change in Venezuela? And when it comes to when could they next get to producing 3.5 million barrels per day, which is what they used to produce at their peak, they think it would be about 2030 before they could get there. Right now, it's 800,000, maybe a million on a good day. Chevron's in there already. There could be some quick turnarounds, but there's a lot of dilapidation there. At the same time, there's a lot of infrastructure in place from when they produced 3.5 million barrels. So it's not impossible, but certainly it's going to take a lot of money, time, and also certainty about what's happening on the ground.
So the year that you have in mind, Michelle, is a 2030, so taking some time there. And, you know, Bob definitely tried to sort of quell a lot of optimism that played out over the weekend as well. But all that needs to really come under the right circumstances. Everything needs to line up with the Trump administration wishes at this point in time. There are just so many questions about what the Venezuelan military's role is going to be and how they would react, and were they aligned with the Trump administration to begin with, and how will this power vacuum in Venezuela be filled as well? So just give us what you're thinking about this weekend in terms of those questions.
So President Trump made two critical decisions. The first one was actually to take out Maduro. That was a difficult one. That went off well. The second critical decision he made was to not install the opposition, which is in exile. There's numerous opposition leaders that have been forced into exile because they were threatened with arrest. The most prominent one is Maria Corina Machado. But they made a choice not to do that. I think that's in large part because post-Saddam Iraq looms very, very large in the minds of Americans and in the minds of the White House. And they did not want instability on the ground. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on the weekend shows, the sad situation is that most of the opposition is in exile. It's very difficult for them to leave at this point. And that was their rationale for keeping in place almost all of the communist echelon that's there. It's just Maduro and his wife that are gone. And in fact, I've been watching Venezuelan state television for the last 2 days, and it's the same. It's pro-communist. There's not people on the streets cheering that Maduro is gone. It's pro-Chavistas who are out there, and they seem to be very much in control. I think the Trump administration might see that as a win, that there's stability on the ground, and now the choice is left. They've made very clear to the people who are in charge, Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, leader of the military, the interior secretary, what do they want to do from here? Do they want to start cooperating with the United States? And it's not clear. I mean, there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of people who are very familiar with intelligence services, military operations, that for this to go as well, they suspect that there were some members of the military who were involved. Thus far, what they're saying on Venezuelan television, what they're saying to the public, none of that at all. Delcy Rodriguez is still crying about anti-imperialism and saying that Maduro should be sent back. But we'll see now, how do they react in the coming days to what's happened and whether or not they're going to cooperate.